Hey everyone, it's Ben Hart here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the all-new 2022 Ford Bronco Raptor. In the first part of the video we're going to go over the specs of the new Bronco Raptor, then we're going to get into stuff like pricing, how you can get one, and then we'll get into my final thoughts here on the Bronco Raptor. And with that being said, let's get right into the video. Now let's get into the specs with the Bronco Raptor. Now I'm going to do this in kind of like the normal walk around fashion as what I do in my videos on the main channel, where I kind of like start at certain points and go around the vehicle. I think that'll be the easiest way to go over the specs. So first off, powering the new Bronco Raptor is going to be a turbocharged 3-liter V6, goes through a 10-speed automatic transmission. Now Ford hasn't released the official power or torque figures, but it's probably going to be somewhere around 400 to 415 horsepower, and then torque is probably going to be about the same, probably a little bit more, maybe like 450 range roughly. This engine in like the Explorer ST, for example, produces 400 horsepower and 415 pound-feet of torque. But I imagine, right, it's going to have somewhere around that, maybe a little bit more, because apparently the powertrain has been tuned by Ford's performance division. That being said, you guys know with me owning the new F-150 Raptor, I'm hoping that that Ford performance tuning went to the transmission, because the 10-speed in the F-150 Raptor is amazing. It's super smooth and crisp with the upshifts and the downshifts, and you can even shift into first gear while moving, and the truck's just, it's super smooth. It doesn't rock the truck or anything, and I'm hoping they do the same thing with the Bronco Raptor from a transmission tuning perspective. And I think the power outputs are fine, right? It's not as much as the F-150 Raptor, but it's also a smaller vehicle, and let's get into that. So for the width, it's 85.7 inches, and then for the length, it's about 190 inches, only available in a 4-door, so slightly narrower than an F-150 Raptor and substantially shorter than an F-150 Raptor, so it's going to weigh less than the F-150 Raptor, and that's also going to help out with off-road capability, right? Because it's going to have a better breakover angle being a much shorter vehicle. But again, going back to the powertrain perspective, this powertrain should feel more than adequate in this vehicle, being a lighter weight vehicle, even though it's going to have a little bit less horsepower than what the F-150 Raptor has. Now, moving on from that to kind of like the whole front end, they've changed the hood, so they've got like the same like Raptor thing in the center of the hood as what they have on the F-150, so it's pretty cool. They moved that over to the Bronco, and since it's so wide, it does have the amber marker lights in the front grille area, and then it has the LED accent lights in orange for the headlights as well, just like with the Raptor, and it has like the Raptor skid plate on the front end, which is definitely a really cool look. And in terms of front ground clearance, 13.1 inches, so just as capable as the Raptor. And that whole skid plate thing continues all the way under the underside of the Bronco Raptor to protect everything, just like the F-150 Raptor has with all the skid plates. Moving from that to the side, first off, the fenders themselves are slightly wider than the regular Bronco, but not that much. Most of the extra width actually is contained within the new fender flares. Now, the reason that Ford's done it this way is their factory actually cannot paint a super wide Bronco. It's just not set up for that, and so they had to basically make the Bronco Raptor as narrow as possible so it could still fit through their paint booth and everything. But then they need to make it as wide as possible to fit 37s and everything, and so then they just went, okay, massive fender flares. So that's why the fender flares are so large, and why the fenders themselves aren't that much bigger than a regular Bronco. So it's a little bit, it's like opposite of the F-150 Raptor. Moving from that, obviously, I kind of mentioned it, 37s from the factory as standard. Those are going to be mounted on 17-inch wheels. You will have beadlock capable wheels as an option for the Bronco Raptor. Now, from a suspension standpoint, what it's going to get that's pretty cool is it's going to have the Racing Series Fox shocks, just like what you have with the Raptor, which is super exciting stuff. Live valve shocks, and they're literally just taken out of the Raptor, the F-150 Raptor, the 3.1 inch in diameter. And you guys know I'm a huge fan of the new shocks. They do amazing. And if you guys want to see it in action, I just posted an off-road video on the main channel with me comparing the Raptor to the TRX. Anyways, from a suspension standpoint and axle standpoint and all that kind of stuff, suspension pretty much carried over from the Raptor as well. It's going to have Dana 44 front and Dana 50 rear axles. From an axle perspective, still going to have independent front suspension. They didn't go for a solid front axle like what the Jeep Wrangler has, so they're still keeping it that way, which makes sense because this is supposed to be more of a Baja type vehicle, and you don't want to have a solid front axle if you're going to be doing Baja type driving. And so yeah, the setup so far pretty crazy. Now moving from to the next part of the side, rock rails, you're going to be able to get that on it, and you also be able to get side steps alongside the rock rails with the new Bronco Raptor, so you won't have to like choose one or the other. And then moving to the back, it has marker lights on the back as well, just like with the front. So there's 3 in the front grille, and then there's 3 above the tire carrier. Now for the other 2 marker lights that are mandated, they're actually on the side mirrors. So the front part of the lights will show orange, and then the rear part of the lights on the mirrors will show red. So it's kind of like this one light on the mirror. It's all integrated. Hopefully I can find a picture of it to put in this video. But when I review one, you guys will be able to see that. And then 37-inch tire mounted on the back, and they basically strengthened the whole tire carrier system and the whole tailgate and everything to be able to accommodate this larger, heavier tire. And then from a top perspective, it'll only be available in a hard top, and there's not going to be any soft top at all. Now, moving to the interior, this is where things get pretty interesting. First off, you'll be able to get like the base interior, which will be vinyl. So it'll pretty much be like a loaded up Bronco right now. So vinyl seats, and then you'll be able to get rubber floors, and it'll be just think of like a loaded up Bronco right now. That's what the base Bronco Raptor is going to be. Now the loaded up Bronco Raptor, this is where things kind of upgrade a little bit. Fully digital gauge cluster, 12-inch infotainment system, and then the seats are a little bit different. They've got a combination of materials. The main thing that I think is cool is they're going to have a little bit of Alcantara on them, and then there's also going to be some orange accenting, code orange to be exact, in the perforations of the seats. And the bolstering's really aggressive on them. They just look really cool overall. And the loaded up interior is also going to have some carbon fiber accenting as well. And then you're going to be able to get a ton of options. Bang & Olufsen sound system, safety tech like adaptive cruise control, and it's also going to have carpeted floor mats instead of the rubber floors. So there is that little bit of a difference because, again, it's supposed to be like the luxury package. And then I guess the last thing I forgot to mention on the exterior that we'll come back to is in terms of wheel travel, 13 inches front, 14 inches in the rear, just like the Raptor, the Gen 3 Raptor with 37s. So travel is the same, and they both have 37s, so it kind of makes sense. So I guess we'll quickly get into the opinion section, and then we'll sum things up with how you're able to get one of these. So from an opinion perspective, I think that Ford's done a really good job aesthetically with the Bronco Raptor. It looks really aggressive. I was a little bit concerned with the initial spy shots, seeing the massive fender flares, because the whole thing about a Raptor is having a wide body vehicle, right? And so having the vehicle itself being wider with the fenders, not just the fender flares. But now seeing the vehicle without any camouflage, I think it actually works. It looks really good, and it kind of has more of like a Jeep Wrangler type look, because that's what the Jeep Wranglers do, is the actual body is not super wide, but then they have really wide fender flares. So they're kind of doing the same thing, and yeah, I think it works exterior styling wise. Now from a performance standpoint, like I said, I know some people are going to be disappointed with the powertrain, but owning 2 Raptors now at this point, right, a Gen 2 and now a Gen 3, I can tell you the turbocharged engine is amazing off-road, and they're actually doing some cool stuff with the engine from a tuning perspective to make it so it's really good when you're doing some off-road driving stuff, to make it so it's really responsive. So first off, when you're in Baja mode, it is always going to have the exhaust being directed into the turbos. So this will obviously make it so you get worse fuel economy, but it'll make it so the turbos are always kind of spooled up, so you'll get a better response out of the pedal when you press it down while off-roading. So that's a pretty cool thing that they're doing with it, and I think that's going to help out with the acceleration and performance. And again, being smaller, being lighter weight than their F-150 Raptor, I think that it's going to feel just as quick, and I think you're going to be able to go just as quick, if not quicker, during through some off-road trails with this new Bronco Raptor. And so it literally, everything's there, in my opinion. It's got the right amount of travel, it's got the right tires, it's got the right looks, it's got the right amount of ground clearance. It's still going to have front and rear lockers, it's still going to have a stabilizer bar to disconnect, so it's still going to have all of the crawling capabilities. But then it also has these race series shocks, which means it's going to be able to really handle high-speed stuff. The regular Bronco can handle some high-speed stuff, but this is going to be on a whole nother level. Now, finishing things up in terms of going over how you can get one of these, this is where things get interesting. So Ford is going to prioritize people that have put in basically a deposit to get a Bronco but haven't gotten their Bronco yet. So, if you put in a pre-order 2 years ago and you still haven't gotten your Bronco, what you can do now is you can switch your order to a Bronco Raptor, and those are the first people that will be able to get Bronco Raptors, is people that have not received their Bronco, which, I mean, if you guys want to know my personal opinion on this, I understand why Ford's doing this, right? Because it's like, hey, you guys put a deposit, you haven't gotten anything yet, so we'll give you first pick at the cool Bronco. But I also think that's not fair to the people that have already bought a Bronco, because they've already shown Ford like, hey, we're with the brand, we're the ones that bought the Bronco, and I want to upgrade my Bronco to the nicer Bronco. So I wish that Ford would have done it like 2 different stages, or, you know, basically where they would have offered those people at the same time offering current Bronco owners if they want to upgrade their Bronco to a Bronco Raptor. I think that would have been the most fair, but you know, Ford can do whatever they want. And so yeah, that's the first group of people. And then after those people have been exhausted, then Ford will basically open it up to the public. So current Bronco owners, and then people that don't own a Bronco, so other brands that they want to trade over to the Bronco Raptor. And so basically what that means is, if you're not one of those people that was, quote unquote, unlucky enough to still not have your Bronco, you are now lucky enough to be the first person to be able to get the Bronco Raptor. And so that is going to open up in February. Official ordering will open up roughly in March in terms of actually putting the factory order in. And then the initial deliveries will probably happen this summer. We'll see what actually happens, because there's probably be some delays and everything. And then I'm guessing that that'll be the initial wave. I think that's what Ford is expecting, is this initial batch will all be these pre-orders, Bronco pre-orders. And I think once they've gotten past that, then I think in the summer is when it'll open up to the public. And so I think if you don't have a pre-order in, and if you're just someone that's you already got your Bronco, basically, I think you're gonna have to wait until summer until you're gonna be able to actually order the Bronco Raptor, and then it'll be just, you know, finding the right dealer that will charge the right amount of money for it, because specialty vehicle, right? Most dealers are going to charge an insane amount over MSRP for this. And I don't know if I talked about the pricing, so I guess I'll talk about the pricing quickly. The starting price is going to be just under $70,000. And then in terms of the fully loaded price, they haven't released that yet. But judging by how much a fully loaded Raptor cost, I'm guessing it's going to be $85,000 to $90,000. The reason I'm guessing this is the base price of a Raptor is $65,000, a loaded up Raptor is $85,000. Now this is almost $4,000 more than the base price of a Raptor, but it also comes standard with 35 or 37s. So that's why it's more expensive than a base Raptor, because the base Raptor only comes with 35s. So maybe it'll only be like $80,000 to $85,000 for the fully loaded price, but still expect a fully loaded one to be over $80,000. And then obviously most Ford dealers will mark them up substantially more. I mean, I'm sure this is going to be a with this market right now, $130,000 to $140,000 vehicle after dealer addendum and everything. But I want you guys to let me know what you think about the new Bronco Raptor, if you're going to be getting one. And of course I'm going to be trying to get one, but that's where it's going to be difficult. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video.